Welcome in to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. You know, folks, I take umbrage with the word tireless because we're humans. Tireless is not in my vocabulary. It's not in my dictionary. We all get fatigued. We all get frustrated. Tireless just doesn't happen in our world. But our guest today, LaDonna Humphrey, is the embodiment of tireless, especially when it comes to the Melissa Witt case. She's got three books on this case that are out right now. She's got a third book that just has been released 2 weeks ago, which is called Connected by Fate. It's an amazing book. I encourage you to get this book. We have a link in the description of this program right now, which you can get the book. She's got a documentary out there, which is amazing as well. It's called Uneven Ground, the Melissa Witt story. It came out in May of 2023. LaDonna has come out with this new book, which will absolutely astound you. I'll tell you how and why when I bring LaDonna in here in just a moment. In that she stumbled upon who she believes is Melissa's killer. And she's done everything but give you the name. We'll tell you who she believes this killer is, how she came about it, and we'll talk a little bit about it today in today's program. And why she just won't stop. The word tireless comes up here. Not just with Melissa Witt's case, but in other cases as well. And I have a hard time with this word. Championing. LaDonna can tell me what that word is. Why she's taking up the cause for other missing women and murdered women, not just Melissa, and continuing that cause and being tireless. LaDonna Humphrey is an award-winning writer, documentarian, investigative journalist, executive director, and advocate for victims of crime. Her passions include advocating for missing adults, crime victims, children in foster care, and for women in recovery. LaDonna is the founder of All the Lost Girls and True Crime Fest NWA, as well as the co-host of the Deep Dark Secrets podcast and the Extinguished podcasts. Let's welcome her in. She's also shortlisted for the 2023 True Crime Awards in two categories, Best New True Crime Writer and Best Indie Podcast. Again, she released the indie documentary Uneven Ground, the Melissa Witt story in May of 2023. She's got Connected by Fate out right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in to True Crime Tuesday once again, LaDonna Humphrey. Hi, LaDonna.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me back on the show. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. And I'll tell you, this book is, again, absolutely amazing. You've done it a third time in keeping people on the edge of their seat and wondering, LaDonna, why you keep taking chances with your life. I don't know what this is all about. But first of all, I want to catch people up. Let's do that, and then we'll jump into what it is that you've discovered now. Let's just briefly give me about a 2-minute synopsis of the Melissa Witt case and what happened with Melissa Witt's disappearance and death.
Oh, absolutely. So in December, it's actually December 1st of 1994, Melissa Witt drove to the Fort Smith bowling alley called Bowling World to meet her mom. Her mom bowled on a league. Melissa never made it inside. They searched for her for almost 6 weeks, and unfortunately, her body was recovered an hour away in the Ozark National Forest. She had been strangled. The case really rocked the state. We'd never had anything like that happen before. And then 6 months after, she was murdered, there was a abduction of a 6-year-old girl, and so, Melissa's body had been recovered, and that sort of put all eyes on trying to find this missing little girl, as it should have been. Mm-hmm. But that also put Melissa's case a little bit further back than I think we would have liked. I won't say it was on the back burner because the detectives always cared about the case, but they're human and only have so much time. And so the case went unsolved, and for the most part, with very little national coverage until our team got involved in 2015. And we started filming a documentary, and I ended up getting very involved in the investigative portion of the Witt case. And that led to me writing books, and here I am today.
And tell me a little bit about your team real quick, because your team is quite remarkable.
Well, thank you. I think so. They're fantastic. I've got some retired detectives. I have some private investigators. I have journalists, and I have a fellow podcaster. She and I actually have a podcast together. Her name is Amy Smith. And, they're just very passionate about justice and wanting to be a voice for those that have no voice of their own. And I'm just really proud to work with them. They are the people I want to grow up to be someday. Truly, just very kind-hearted, hardworking, want to make a difference, salt of the earth kind of people.
And in this, the last time you were with us, LaDonna, you had gotten to the point now where in looking for leads in this case to try to find Melissa Witt's killer, you ended up, it's hard for me to even put these words out here, LaDonna. You ended up in the death fetish community, death fetish porn community. And that book was absolutely chilling. Now, can you update us as to where that's at? Because the last time we had talked, you were smack dab in the middle of this. You had been doxxed. All this stuff was happening with you. Can you tell us where you're at with that now?
So I followed that lead. That's what you want to do. You got to follow the leads where, they take you. And there was just no connection that we could make to the Witt case. But what we did find was this community of primarily men. There are some women, but primarily men who glorify the murder of young women. And we launched a podcast, and since that time, we have seen what we call them fetishers, multiple fetishers arrested for stalking and obsessing about the murder of real life women that they know. And so we've done a lot of advocacy work, and we're working to change federal obscenity laws so we could put more teeth in the laws that are needed to be able to shut down things like death fetish pornography. So we've been busy with that.
And just for our audience, just real quick, again, as a quick recap, some of the stuff is acted out, but some of the other stuff is real, isn't it?
It is. What we have found is that a lot of it is just fantasy, pictures or movies or, stories. But what we discovered is that there were real life murderers, lurking in these communities that went out and killed real women. And so there was much of that we worked really hard to expose. And so it's been quite a journey. It's not one that I recommend. There are things that I can never unsee or unhear or unknow. I don't know if unknow is a proper word, but you get my point here.
Right.
And so, but because, we saw this glorification of the murder of young women, we really felt like we had to do something about it. It's almost as if all of these things that we touched upon, the light was shined on them because of our work on the Witt case. It was almost like Melissa was this guiding light for us to be able to uncover other things so we could help other young women.
I was so disturbed by that last book. I can't even tell you. I encouraged our listeners to go out and get that book. I had a lot of people come back to me and say, Tim, that book was so disturbing. I said, I don't know what to tell you. You may be disturbed by reading it. Imagine LaDonna living it. I can't imagine.
Yes.
I can't imagine.
It's very disturbing. So, I'm kind of through with that investigation. I still deal with some things residually because of it, because obviously I've made some enemies with some people that don't want me poking around into their extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of pressure from that community, not like it used to be, though. I mean, for the most part, I've kind of moved on to other things with the podcast, and we keep it on our radar. And again, we're working with different women who are pressing charges against some of these fetishers. But for the most part, things have calmed down in that sense.
Well, that's good. That's good. This book, Connected by Fate, starts out where you and your team are sifting through different leads, and you come upon kind of a eureka moment. And you, as you're looking through Melissa's diary, you come to the assumption, along with, I believe it's JC and maybe one other detective, and you say she knew his killer, or she knew her killer. and intimately. Am I on that vibe correctly?
Yes, you are. I mean, investigators had always believed that this was not a stranger that, attacked, kidnapped, and murdered Melissa. And they felt very strongly that the name of the person responsible would be in that diary. And when you read the diary, and I have to be careful what I share here, so
Sure.
I have to be a little vague. There's one particular name that just continues to surface, and immediately it sparked an interest with me, for a variety of reasons. And as the book title would, lead you to believe, I believe that it was connected. I'm connected to him by fate just as much as I am to Melissa Witt.
Interesting. It's weird how, and you've talked before about how you feel you and Melissa, again, are connected by fate. It's interesting how, as we go through the book and as we start to, and I'm trying to be as vague as possible here, as we're going through the book, how you think nobody saw this interaction between Melissa and her killer in this bowling alley parking lot. Yet, for as many people who didn't see, a few people did, didn't they?
They did. An 11-year-old boy named Jeremy and a young woman, a college-aged young woman, actually overheard this altercation. She was actually too short. I know her actually pretty well, and she just couldn't see over the vehicle that was there, blocking her view. But she overheard the conversation, which was an argument, and was hypnotized then. And then we had her re-hypnotized later. And it's interesting because she came back with, during hypnosis, the very scenario that we believe happened about what she overheard. And she believes that the killer's name starts with the letter D.
Interesting. Now,
yes,
you bring up something. Okay, what I love about this book and what I love about your research is you love to present not only the positives, but the skeptical side of the research. Now, you do bring up that, again, stuff that happens under hypnosis isn't necessarily admissible in court, correct?
That's correct. Oh. But it sure can help an investigation.
Right.
For certain.
Right. But I love the fact that you'll also, if you have to, you'll bring up, okay, although it's a great lead and it does help jog the memory and it helps advance the case. Yeah, okay, we can't necessarily use it in court, but there's also two witnesses that essentially saw the same thing. The other thing that's staggering here, LaDonna, is that 11-year-old boy. Think of it this way, and this put it into perspective for me. This abduction and eventual murder happened in 1994. It's 30 years this year.
Yes.
That blew my mind when I had to sit and I had to do a little bit of math. I didn't remove any clothing to do this. 30 years.
It's a long time. And I had somebody that read the book and said, LaDonna, this is, you put all kinds of Easter eggs in your book and it's 30 years this year, but you only have 29 chapters. I thought for sure you'd put 30 chapters in a book for, the 30 years. And I said, well, it's not 30 years until December.
That's right.
Until we reach that anniversary. So I believe that we're going to catch him in the 29th year. And she was like, oh, that blows my mind. But, it's been a long time.
Can I tell you this? I assume the 30th chapter is when you catch them.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. But
I think you're right.
No foreshadowing, but I'm just saying that when I saw there was only 29 chapters, and I caught some of the Easter eggs as well, but I assume the 30th chapter is when he's caught.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to go with that, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You do so, my friend. You can do that. But to me, it's just staggering that for 30 years, this killer has been on the loose. And and again, this is just conjecture on my part, this isn't the only one. I'm just...
Oh, I believe there's been multiple other people that he has hurt, seriously injured, and killed.
Now we know there's at least hurt. I can't speak as far as facts, as far as killed goes, but as the book goes on, and I won't, again, I'll try not to spoil, there are people who come forward as you're beginning to learn of this person with the first letter D. People start to come forward as you start to say, do you have any clues? You put up billboards, correct?
Yes, I put up billboards. I put up a $29,000 reward for information. I've put up multiple rewards my team has. I mean, we've done everything that we can to get information. Anybody that emails, calls us, sends me a Facebook message, we meet with them. We talk to them. We answer them. We make sure that they get a response from us. And so what happened very quickly is people began to trust us. Word began to spread that, hey, this team will meet with you. And people began to feel comfortable that they could give us information that we were going to actually do something with it. And that's been important to me. And of course, we take that information and we give all of it to law enforcement because that's an agreement that we had with them when we were working on this case. And so, you know, sometimes people ask me that. Now, you shared it with law enforcement. Absolutely, we did. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of man hours answering the phone, getting out there and doing interviews, getting out there, you know, taking the phone calls. And that's led to this ability to be able to get more information from people who weren't willing to come forward to law enforcement.
You know, you did something, or you've done something that law enforcement hasn't been able to do. Why? How is that? Why is that? Why in all these years was law enforcement not able to get these people to come forward?
Well, in all fairness, you know, law enforcement, well, let's give an example. The current lead detective on the case had over 600 cases on his desk last year alone. Okay. He's, you know, there's real new happening crime all the time, all day long. And so, you know, they don't have a dedicated cold case unit. And so you know, these detectives that are assigned these cold cases work them as they can, and they're very passionate. But, you know, it's a different story when you've got a team of investigative reporters that can spend that kind of time on a case and, you know, understand it all and put the reports together and to piece information together that might have been missed. I think for our team, that's basically been a strength of ours because we re-interviewed every single person that we could that was in that case file or that came forward to us. And we started putting the pieces together. And when this guy, whose name starts with the letter D, mm-hmm. I call him the unnamed suspect, really got on my radar, I made it my full-time job to find out everything I could about him because he was not talking to police. He lawyered up very early on in the case after Melissa's body was found, and then that's it. So he contacted me. We built a, you know, I don't know if you want to call it a friendship. I mean, he was contacting me to find out information about the case, mm-hmm. and I stayed into contact with him because I needed to get all the information I could from him. And so in the meantime, I started finding all the women he had ever dated back to junior high. And I started meeting with them. Wow. And a terrifying pattern emerged. And it was clear to me how dangerous this guy was. And he'd been, you know, married before, he'd been engaged, and I'm talking to their extended family and finding out how terrified all of these people were of this man. And the more information that I got, the more determined I was to get more information, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Before we jump into that part of it, because I have some questions as far as your actual contact with him too. Let me ask you this question, LaDonna. Now, you point out that law enforcement has, you know, this particular investigator who had the case had 600 other files on his desk or their desk. If you had to estimate, in order to properly solve one missing person's case, how much manpower and how many hours do you think it would take for the average missing person's case to get solved?
Well, right from the start, right out of the gate. I mean, you can't let any time lapse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know the first 48 hours are critical.
Right.
But truly, when it's beyond that, let's just say it's beyond the first 48. I mean, you're looking at 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week, every single week until the case is solved. It has to be your full-time job. I made it my full-time job to find out who murdered Melissa Witt. And so did my team. And so that's just not something that most law enforcement agencies are able to do. And if they have a cold case unit, then those cold case detectives can spend the time needed on individual cold cases. But there's so many cases and there's only so much manpower. And I have people ask me sometimes, all of this time you spent on the Witt case, why the Witt case? What about all these other cases that are out there? And we can talk more about that later, about what I decided to do, because we started a nonprofit.
Sure.
So we could help other cases, but why not the Witt case? She deserves justice. Right. And it's just right there. The case is so solvable. So
let me rephrase a little bit. I'll
okay.
Retract and rephrase. How long do you think in order to find a lead suspect? And I know it's different in every case, but if you had to put out an average as far as weeks, let me ask you in weeks, how many weeks do you think it would take in an average case to find a lead suspect if you had to spitball it?
4 weeks.
Okay.
2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Most suspects, in all reality, they rise up, they rear their ugly heads from the very beginning. They really do. It's just you have to know what you're looking for.
Okay.
And sometimes that can be lost in, the experience that the detective has on the case or how complicated the issue is. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but almost immediately, I would say in 7 out of every 10 cases that I've been a part of in the first couple of weeks, that suspect's name was out there. It was known. It was somewhere in that case file.
Okay. Tell you what, let's take our break here. When we come back, I want to talk about your first interactions with D, what he had to say about his interactions with Melissa, and what you got out of him in those first interactions. And then I want to talk a little bit about his other relationships and what some of these women had to say to you, because some of it's a little disturbing. And then we'll get into a certain contact that came up in this case. Let's call it an intermediary, a go-between. And someone who enters the picture who, let's just say, is a little mysterious, and someone who's become a source of information a little bit for you, I guess. It's kind of a weird part of the story here, folks, but it's becoming an interesting part of this story nonetheless. I know I'm being a little vague and a little mysterious here, but this story takes twists and turns, folks, that you wouldn't believe, and makes you wonder why this case has become so solvable yet unsolvable. Again, we're talking about the Melissa Witt case, and the book is called Connected by Fate. LaDonna Humphrey is the author. She's also the lead investigator on this case. She's an investigative journalist and podcaster. We've got links to the podcast. We've got links to this book in the description of this podcast itself. Be sure to go get the book. While we're in the break, we'll come back with more with LaDonna Humphrey right after this on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is LaDonna Humphrey, investigative journalist and podcaster, and also the author of the new book, Connected by Fate, dealing with the Melissa Witt murder. All right, LaDonna, when we left everybody, we were talking about this lead suspect in the case. Goes by the first initial D. The first time you reach out and you have the information on how to reach out to the lead suspect, D, you get a hold of him by phone.
Well, actually, he called me.
Or he called you. I'm sorry.
He called me. It was around 1 a.m. give or take a few minutes. And I sat up straight in bed when the phone rang, and he wanted to know if I was the same LaDonna Humphrey that was working on the Melissa Witt documentary. And I said yes, and he started to sob. And he told me that he knew Melissa, that he had dated Melissa, that he cared about her, and he asked me to take her to the grave. He had never gone to the graveside where Melissa was buried. It automatically set off every red flag you can imagine in my head. How did he get my number? Why is he calling me? I take down the information. I calm him down and say, of course I'll take you. Let's talk tomorrow when we've got some rest. I'll reach out to you. And then, of course, I reach out to JC Ryder, and he says to me, where did you get that name? Because I had never read about this person's name in the case file yet. And he said, you'll need to come in and talk to us. There's some things that you need to know. And so that's really what, forged this relationship with law enforcement, because they did tell me this is a guy that he may know more information. And he lawyered up and won't talk to us. So we would like for you to work undercover and befriend him. And so that's what I did for 7 years.
Is your stomach in knots as you're talking to this guy?
Yes, because he, my day job is I'm a sober living director for women.
Yeah.
And he talked openly about his battles with addiction and other things in his life. And so I did see a human side of him. And I wrestled with that somewhat, because I also knew that he was likely the killer. And it was tough. But yeah, my stomach was in knots. It was difficult towards the end before I put the kibosh on that, relationship, so to speak. It was becoming more and more problematic for me to be able to tolerate the things that he was saying, the way that he behaved.
Is there a part of yourself that, as a sober living director, that tries to see this as, even as a suspect, that tries to see this as maybe this is someone who's steeped in addiction, who makes a mistake? Or do you see through it and say this is actually a psychopathic killer that's using drug abuse as an excuse?
I actually saw him as a psychopathic killer that also had a traumatic childhood and drug addiction. And I did try to help him address the drug addiction separately from the fact that he was a psychopathic killer. I really had to compartmentalize those two things.
Okay.
It's kind of like the do no harm clause for a doctor. I feel that way as a sober living director. And if I could help him get some resources to get sober, my thoughts were maybe he would come to the realization that he needed to make amends for what he had done. That was my naive belief at the time. But the more women I talked to, the more I realized that he was cunning, calculated, and trying to use me to get information so he could be close to the case to find out what was going on. And so it was a cat and mouse game that we played for years. I was playing him while he was playing me. And through the course of that relationship, there were things that he did confide in me that were helpful in the investigation. Things I can't share.
Sure.
But it was very helpful to be able to report those things back to investigators. And I did eventually accuse him of the murder of Melissa Witt so I could end that relationship. I could not handle it anymore. And the reason that I couldn't is that I have 7 children. My oldest daughter is a young woman in her 20s, and this suspect tried to friend her on social media.
Oh, no.
And so that I was like, yep, nope, we're done here. And I've not really been in touch with him since. It'd been several years since that happened. And then on Easter, I received a text message from him that said, "Happy Easter, LaDonna." So he was trying to re-engage with me again.
Oh, God.
And now the book is out, and I really don't think I'll ever hear from him again.
Well,
because he knows, and I know that book is about him. Nobody else knows who he is, but I know. He knows. So
he knows, yes. Well, you and I talked off air, and you know how I feel. Do you mind if I tell people?
No, I think you should.
Okay. I think that this is actually this book, when people get done reading it, and I think everyone should in this audience should read this book. I think this book is actually an inflammatory point where, even though you don't name who this is, you don't ever use his name. I think it gives him just enough recognition without naming him that it puts enough of a spotlight where it teases him without giving him the recognition. So it's kind of like poking the bear. You've poked the bear, and it's an inflammatory statement here, LaDonna. So he's got to do something. So
well, I took the book to the edge.
Yes, you did.
The very edge.
Yes, you did.
The lead detective on the case said to me, "Humphrey, you went hard." And he said, "But I wouldn't have expected any less from you." And I was appreciative of that because I did go hard in the book. And there were things that they asked me not to include, and I respected that because I don't want to compromise the investigation. I mean, there are some national articles that ran today about the book, and I was reading through the comments. Never do that, by the way.
Yeah,
Never read comments about your stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were, talking about, well, how could she do this? She's jeopardized the case, and shame on her. Well, this, that, and the other. Well, no, that's not the case. I had full permission from law enforcement to do what I've done. I mean, they told me to go for it, and I did it. And I did it in such a way that I know I didn't compromise the case. I wish I could have put 10 more chapters in that book that would have just blown people away. But because we need to get the guy and I need to see him in cuffs, it's just now's not the time or the place. And so the purpose was to do exactly what you said, to inflame him. I want him so rattled that he makes a mistake. I want him so rattled that he cannot do anything other than think about Melissa Witt night and day until that knock on the door comes and it's law enforcement that said, "We're here, buddy. We're here. We've come for you. We know what you did." That's what my hope is.
Now, the other part of this is that with a psychopathic killer, they either crave recognition and want that recognition for what they've done, or they truly want to lay low and enjoy their freedom. There's one or the other. In this case, it's been 30 years. So this guy has walked the planet free for 30 years and managed to poke at others and kind of do the nah, thing and manage to stay free. He truly values his freedom. But at the same time, it seems like he does want to be recognized as one who's gotten away with it. But
I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Yes.
Yeah. But now you've done this thing where you've let the world know essentially who he is without letting the world know who he is. And now he's going to want to let people know who he is and say, "Hey, that's me in the book." And that you've created a level of frustration with him now. So he has to do something now. See, he has to take it a level higher. And that's where we're at. So you've introduced a new level to him. So that's why I'm saying he has to make a new move.
Absolutely. One of the things that we considered could happen is that he might sue me civilly for writing this book about him. And of course, law enforcement read the book, my publisher, it went through legal, and everybody came to the same conclusion. There's no identifiable information. The average person on the street isn't going to pick it up and say, "Oh my goodness, this is Joe Blow next door. I can't believe it." And so if he decides to pursue that route, I welcome it, because there's a beautiful thing called discovery, which would put him in a very bad position, because you remember, he never did talk to police before. And so maybe the destiny here is to get him civilly instead of criminally. I don't know what the answer is. I think a good attorney would tell him to lay low. Don't try to say that this book is about you. But I don't know when the narcissist in him is going to be able to say, I have to do something because I want that recognition. I've also considered that he might want to hurt me. I mean, that's a possibility too, Tim.
I was just going to bring that up. One of the things that you and I talked about off air was he knows now that you and your team are sitting on things that could prove him guilty, or that you've been sharing information with law enforcement so that law enforcement is sitting on things that obviously prove some of his guilt. He knows that there may not be enough to come get him, but there's enough that you've written a book. So he's nervous. He's obviously nervous. So he's got to get something away from you. In order to get it away from you, he has to come after you, or he has to come after somebody who's got whatever it is that is implicating him. So I would ask this question, and that is, have you discussed this with JC and the others as to a plan to protect yourself? Because obviously or insulate yourself and your family, because you've raised the stakes. The stakes are now higher than they've ever been.
Yes, that's definitely something that we've talked about at length. There's extra patrol at my house. There's lots of cameras. We are very well protected in my home. I will say that. Good. I have been asked not to have a predictable routine for the foreseeable future. And so that includes going different ways to work or to take the kids to school. So I am basically doing everything I can to still live as much of a functional, normal life as I can and be incredibly safe. The benefit that I have is I know him. I know what he looks like. He's not going to sneak up on me. Mm-hmm. But there is a very real possibility that this could trigger him and he could snap. And so that's something that we did talk about before the book came out. And I decided that the benefit of doing this outweighed the risks. Melissa was a 19-year-old girl that had her life stolen from her, most likely by this man. This is the least I could do for her, the least.
And his modus operandi is to get up close and do the job. So he has to get up close to you somehow and do the job. That's how he operates. As long as you keep him at an arm's length, you're fine. But you have to keep him at an arm's length. How you do that is again your strategy with JC. There is a disturbing thing in the book where you actually you do have an incident at the house. Do you want to tell our audience what happens with that?
Yeah, it was actually pretty frightening. My husband was at a basketball game with our youngest son, and I was home with our girls, 4 of my girls. My other 2 children are adults, so they weren't home. And he received a disturbing text message basically saying, "I'm sorry what I did to your family. I'm sorry." And he can't get a hold of me. For whatever reason, I wasn't answering the phone at the time. I wasn't near the phone. And as he rushes to get home, that's when a truck about that time is circling our house. They're doing some strange things, revving the engine. We're watching it. And finally, it leads to 2 masked men getting out of the truck and coming towards our house and banging on the door. My children are hysterical. My 13-year-old, who did have to talk to police about this when they came, was just terrified. And I sent the kids upstairs. I have a 3-level house, 3-story house, and I sent them upstairs because I knew that would be the safest place for them. And I grabbed the shotgun. Wow. And eventually these people left, but they were wearing these Halloween masks, and it was really frightening. I think it was meant to intimidate me. I'm sure it was. And I'm sure, it was meant to get you off the case or off the trail or just to shut things down completely.
and to get you focused on other things.
So needless to say, we had police from 2 different agencies at my house parked out in front of my house doing extra patrols because they know I work the Witt case. And, immediately that comes up. It's always got to be in the back of my mind. Is this related to the Witt case?
Absolutely. There's an interesting other thing that I mentioned before the break here, that an interesting person that's involved here that is connected to Dee that I find interesting. An actual way to communicate with Dee that is, to me, a little dangerous, I guess. But there's a former, is it roommate of his?
Yes.
that still has a connection to him in a way that I guess you could say is how would you describe him to tell our audience?
I got contacted by this guy. His name is, for the book, for the purposes of the book, his name is Nixon O'Neill. That is not his real name.
Okay.
And Nixon emailed me and said, hey, basically, I'm paraphrasing, for what it's worth, I was a roommate with a guy who said he was meeting Melissa Witt that night. So I'm intrigued. Well, I need to know about this. And so anyway, I ended up meeting him in a hotel bar, believe it or not. Okay. And I got some information from him. It was like this scene from a movie almost. This really tall guy shows up with this hat and this envelope, and he comes to my table, and I open the envelope, and it's the name of our guy, of our unnamed suspect. I mean, I could have fallen out of my chair, and I was shocked. And he proceeds to tell me that not only had he been roommates with this guy, but he kept a Mickey Mouse watch, a woman's Mickey Mouse watch, on display in their apartment. My mind is blown. And then he leaves just as mysteriously as he showed up. And I continue to stay in contact with Nixon in an attempt to get more information and to be pointed in the direction that I could to get more information about Dee. And it's been a very interesting journey over all these years. I guess we're going on 8 years of that now. And he was able to point me in the direction of a lot of different people to talk to and places to go and see and things to investigate that have helped us in the Witt murder. And I really think he, oddly enough, is going to be very instrumental in wrapping this case up. He does maintain a connection with Dee to this day. They were roommates. They were very close friends. So, that kind of adds to the mystery and the intrigue of Nixon O'Neill.
So let me ask you this, LaDonna. What's his stake in this? Why does he feel like he needs to turn Dee over to you?
I've asked him that before. We've actually had these conversations many times, because I had always believed that perhaps Dee had confessed to him and he carried a lot of guilt. But what it came down to is that Nixon's ex-wife found out about this story and really encouraged him to come forward. And once he did for her, I don't think he realized the Pandora's box he was opening. I don't think he realized that I was going to be as aggressive as an investigator as I've been. I don't think he realized that I would use every bit of that information to build a profile about the man that I think killed Melissa, and to relentlessly pursue other people who could tell me about Dee and his past. And so I think in some ways that probably shocked him and surprised him and blew up on him a little bit. I think that he may have some guilt that he held onto that information for so long. I mean, Dee had a woman's Mickey Mouse watch. I mean, that's really bizarre.
Yeah.
And of course, we know Melissa's killer took her Mickey Mouse watch. So is it the same watch? I don't know. But it's one of those things that adds to the circumstantial case that we're building.
So in your opinion, and as we get to the end of this part of the program, what is it going to take? What do you think will take to put this case over and put Dee behind bars? Is it going to take something like touch DNA? Is it going to take something like another piece of circumstantial evidence? What is it going to take to eventually put him behind bars?
Everything's been sent back to a lab once again to review, DNA potential, updated potential in the case. So I'm hopeful for that. But it's really going to take that one person that has some information that's been too afraid to come forward, because perhaps they're afraid they will be held accountable for not sharing the information. And that's just not the case. It's time to come forward. We're knocking on 30 years. And so I believe that person is out there. I believe there could be multiple people out there. I believe that if people have had any kind of interaction with Dee that's ended in a beating or something nefarious, that they need to come forward, because we need all that as we're gathering information about him. And I just believe, like the book says, that I am so connected to this case, not just to Melissa, but also to the suspect, because one of the things that I write about, and I think makes this case interesting, is that I grew up in Southwest Oklahoma and I moved to Arkansas, in Greenwood, Arkansas, my 7th grade year. In that 7th grade year, I had math class, and the guy that sat behind me, kind of to the side behind me, that used to pull my hair, and we were good buddies. He was the one that introduced Melissa Witt to Dee.
Oh, wow.
And then, I became good friends with some of the same people that Melissa became friends with. And there's so many other, ties to this case. I just feel like I have to continue what I'm doing. And that's why I wrote Connected by Fate. I needed to tell the world, these are my connections. This is my why. And this is who I think killed her. And I need the readers to now say, we're enraged too, and we're gonna do what it takes. We're gonna buy the books, we're gonna share the information with our friends, and we're gonna do what we can to link arms with you, LaDonna, and solve this case. That's what I'm hoping for.
At the beginning of the podcast here, I'd said that I didn't believe in the word tireless. And you truly are tireless. You didn't just stop with the Melissa Witt case. You decided that wasn't going to be the end of it, or this wasn't going to be, and you're still continuing with this case. You're going to continue with it until you see justice done. But then there was other cases. You got asked about other cases and other missing people. And you founded All the Lost Girls. Tell us about how this happened.
Because so many people have reached out to me, and when I say so many, our team has received hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails a year from families that want this kind of assistance in their cold cases. People are desperate for it. And we quickly realized that we are very knowledgeable in a very specific niche of cold case strangulation. And so we decided to start a nonprofit, and we did. And it's all about education, safety education, addressing domestic violence issues, human trafficking. But more importantly, we offer cold case resources to cases like Melissa. And we do it in her honor. Her death was not in vain. She's helping other girls. And that was really important to me, specifically, that we did something in her honor. And what we also discovered is that we are actually pretty good at what we do. We're pretty good at this. And so we found a name of another young woman that was in Melissa's case file. They initially looked at this case to see if there was a connection. And I'm going to share that if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. It's the 1989 murder of Dana Stidham from Bella Vista, Arkansas. She was 19 years old as well. And I was at lunch one day with a friend of mine and talk about fate. And she said, well, what's your next case? Are you going to work another case? And I said, I would really love to work the Dana Stidham case, but I don't know how to get in touch with her family. And the color in her face drained out. And she said, well, I'm her first cousin.
Oh, wow.
And we just looked at each other. And so we are in the middle of filming a documentary about the Dana Stem case. And I'm going to be writing a book about that. It'll be out next year. And what we hope to do is that everything that our team does moving forward, it ties back to Melissa somehow, that is Melissa's legacy. I think that's important. And I think that there are things that we can do that can help. We definitely know how to bring a cold case to the forefront nationally. So that's what we hope to do. And we're not going to stop. We're never going to give up. We're going to continue to try to fight for all the lost girls.
God bless you. Tireless. That's the thing. Tireless. And I commend you for being tireless. It's amazing when you get behind a cause that truly is God's work, you become tireless. There's unending energy there to get things done, and you've got an amazing team behind you that has managed to keep those wheels churning too. So I truly admire you, LaDonna. You're doing God's work there. So I greatly appreciate you.
You're very kind. I appreciate you saying that. And I'm excited for people to learn more about Dana Stidham's case. The lead on that case from our team is actually not me. It's Amy Smith. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be giving her the support, and she's actually going to try to replicate what we've done in the Witt case. And so I'm excited. I will continue to obviously work beside her. And there are some other cases that we're working as well, but I'm hopeful. I think good things are ahead, and we want to all do it for Melissa. I have a picture of her in my room that I'm looking at right now, and it's just important to me that her life wasn't taken in vain, that we're able to do something really wonderful out of something really tragic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Connected by Fate is the name of the book, folks. I encourage you all to go out and get it and read it. And if there is anybody out there that's listening right now that may have a lead in this Melissa Witt case, please contact LaDonna Humphrey. Get that lead to her. Somebody out there somewhere knows something, and we can finally bring this case home. That's for sure. LaDonna, I want to thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. And I hope to talk to you again soon. Absolutely.
The next project, by all means, the next project you have out, let's bring you back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, it's time now for us to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. MALLIE Fox is our co-hostess with the mostest today. MALLIE, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Not too shabby. It was
Good.
A weekend, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had the most interesting time reading LaDonna Humphrey's book. Again, I encourage people to go get it, Connected by Fate. Just an interesting book. Folks, you really got to read between the lines with this book. I can't stress it enough. You're going to find stuff in this book, when you read between the lines of it, that is more than what appears on the page. I'll just put it that way, MALLIE. It's one of those things, if you love solving mysteries, I think you'll solve this mystery pretty quick, because she does leave little Easter eggs throughout the book as to who this killer is and essentially how to catch him. I mean, not that I'm encouraging people to go catch killers, but by gosh, it's a scary book, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And I'll just put it this way, in closing with this, you wouldn't realize how much true danger LaDonna is in from day to day until you read this book. She's really put herself in some danger. So again, I pray for LaDonna quite often. She's put herself in some danger. So but she's done it because, again, she's hoping to bring closure to this Melissa Witt case, and she's moving on to other cases. And again, she's doing God's calling with this stuff, and I applaud her for it. I absolutely applaud her for it. Speaking of God, Mallie.
Mm-hmm. Like your lead in.
Yeah, God comes into our first story, but in a way that I don't know that I would say is in a positive way.
Okay.
We'll put it that way. You know, some people bring God to light in a positive way. Some people bring it in as a delusion. Let's just say this woman brought it in as a delusion. We're going to Florida, of course, where I don't think God shows up in a positive way most times. This woman claims that God directed her to shoot cars on I-10 in Florida during the eclipse last week.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. The Florida Highway Patrol took this woman into custody, of course. They didn't need God's direction to take her into custody, I should add that. Here's how this all broke down. The Florida Highway Patrol troopers responded to a report of an active shooter in Holmes County. The suspect was reportedly a female who had recently checked out of a local hotel and told the staff she was going on a shooting spree. I want to be a fly on the wall of that conversation. She's just checking out and, oh, ma'am, you have lots of plans today. You're going shopping. You're going to see a movie. You want to see a lot of our town. Oh, no, going on a shooting spree. Do you call that?
I wonder if they thought she was sarcastic when she said it.
I got to think. You just go, oh, that's great. What caliber are you using? You know, I mean, how do you keep the small talk up at that point?
Right.
Yeah. And that she also cited to the hotel employee, she was directed by God in relation to the solar eclipse. So, yeah, kind of a conversation from Wacky Town when you... Oh, God. The suspect driving a purple Dodge Challenger with Georgia plates entered Interstate 10, or I-10, at the 12-mile marker and traveled westbound. Within 5 miles of entering the interstate, the suspect fired multiple shots into another vehicle, traveling along the interstate, striking the passing car multiple times. Good God. The driver was struck by glass fragments from the window and grazed on the arm by a bullet. However, he was able to steer his vehicle onto the shoulder of the road away from the suspect. Thank you. Continuing westbound onto I-10, the suspect shot at another vehicle near the 107-mile marker, hitting the driver in the neck. The victim was taken to a nearby hospital and is currently receiving treatment. Responding troopers located the suspect near the 96-mile marker and conducted a felony traffic stop. After the suspect was taken into custody, troopers recovered an AR-15 and a 9mm handgun within the purple Challenger. So she came strapped.
Apparently.
Yeah. The suspect, identified as Talon Nichelle Celestine, all of 22 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, of Georgia. Evidently, God likes younger shooters because they aim better. I have no idea. Was taken into custody without incident and transported to the Holmes County Jail, where she was booked on the following charges: attempted murder, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and improper discharge of a firearm. The Florida Highway Patrol Bureau of Investigations and Intelligence, or BCCI, is conducting the investigation, which is ongoing. So, Mallie, good excuse, bad excuse?
I wonder if she has like previous record of mental problems. Maybe she got off of her meds or something.
I got to think. You just don't, you don't wake up one day and say, yeah, God told me in relation to the solar eclipse, it's time for a night shooting spree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just doesn't wash with the day's plans, I could see going to get up today, reorganize the office, going to clean out the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Maybe, power wash the house. Shooting spree on I-10 is not one of those things. That's for sure. Mother's Day is around the corner, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
May,
yeah. I got to think one of the things not coming up on Mother's Day is thank Mom for proper use of the remote control by stabbing her over it. That's probably not one of the things on the list either. We go to Taiwan, where a man in Taiwan stabs his mom to death after an argument over the remote control. Life just isn't fair, Mallie.
I don't think I've ever had an argument over the control.
No. It's not that serious.
I might be like, where the hell is it?
Yeah.
What room did you carry it into?
Yeah.
But I've never fought over the remote control.
And you know what? TVs are so inexpensive right now that if you really want to watch something that bad, you could probably afford a second TV. Mm-hmm. It may not be the resolution you're looking for. If you need a high def TV, well, chances are you may not get one. I mean, most of them are high def these days, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They automatically come that way.
Yeah. It's hard to find a standard def TV these days, but you could probably find a smaller TV for a couple $100 to watch something. You could
watch it on your phone.
Right. You can watch it on your phone, right? Yeah. Right. A man stabbed his mother to death and injured his father after an argument went awry in their home in Taichung, Taiwan on Wednesday, April 10th. The 36-year-old, surnamed Zhu, was on the site when the latter discovered the TV remote wasn't working. Okay, always check the batteries. I mean,
exactly.
My time.
That's it most of the time.
That is. My time at Comcast was short. But that's the first thing we always told you when you called in and said, well, this isn't working, that isn't working. Check the batteries on the remote. Mm-hmm. That was always the first thing. The woman, who was in her 60s, reportedly uttered a few words to him, sparking an argument between the two. Enraged, Zhu reportedly picked up a 7-centimeter fruit knife. Yikes, that's a big fruit knife. And attacked her, stabbing her repeatedly in the chest and abdomen. That according to Storm Media. Zhu's father heard the commotion from the floor below and went up to check on them. Discovering his wife was lying in a pool of blood, he tried to stop his son, causing both to get injured in the struggle that ensued. Police later arrived and arrested Zhu, who suffered injuries to his hands while his father had wounds on both his hands and his head. The family, by the way, has quarreled 3 times in the past, according to neighbors. Also, hysterical screams were heard that night, and they had suspected that there was a quarrel going on in Zhu's home that entire night. Not good. One neighbor told Taiwan media that the family had quarreled 3 times before. Following a car accident approximately a decade ago, Zhu had reportedly become withdrawn, only leaving his home to walk his dog.
So he has some mental issues.
Yeah. After he recovered from the accident, his parents converted the ground floor of their home into a cafe so that Zhu could walk there. They're quite loving and outgoing parents, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Zhu had been operating the cafe for the past 8 years. He also has a brother who reportedly is working abroad. They kind of went above and beyond, didn't they, to do what they could for their son? Mm-hmm. That's an unusual story, I'll tell you that much. This next story was sent in to us by one of our listeners. By the way, if you have a story for us for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, you can send it in to tim@darknessradio.com. This one has to do with an ex-WWE wrestler and failed GOP candidate, Dan Rodimer. He's challenging evidence in his Vegas murder case. Retired professional wrestler and 2-time failed GOP congressional candidate, Dan Rodimer is challenging evidence that led to his arrest on a charge of killing a man in a Las Vegas Strip hotel room last year. The 45-year-old Rodimer allegedly beat up 47-year-old Idaho resident Christopher Tapp at the Resorts World Hotel room on October 29th, 2023 at a Halloween party. Tapp suffered brain bleeding and blunt force trauma to the head and was declared dead at the hospital days later. Rodimer, who lost his congressional bids in Nevada in 2020 and in Texas a year later after faking a Southern twang, you heard that right, was charged with murder after turning himself into Vegas police, on March 6th. The former WWE wrestler remains free on $200,000 bail. His attorneys, David Chesnoff and Richard Schoenfield, on Wednesday filed documents claiming that prosecutors relied on a privileged conversation between Rodimer and his wife to conclude that he allegedly fatally punched Tapp. The judge did not immediately decide the evidence question. According to the Associated Press, Rodimer, a father of 6, allegedly attacked Tapp after he offered the wrestler's stepdaughter cocaine at the party.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Rodimer said, "If you ever talk to my daughter again, I'll effing kill you." A witness said that they heard him tell Tapp, followed immediately by loud banging noises. Initially, investigators believe that Tapp's death was an accidental overdose due to cocaine found in his system, according to the autopsy, but authorities later learned he had been in a fight in the hotel room that night. A second witness claimed she saw Rodimer knock Tapp to the ground, causing his head to hit a small table. Rodimer then rained several punches down on his head and body. However, another witness said Tapp slipped, fell, and hit his head on the coffee table. Well, there's all kinds of stories going around on this, isn't there? However, it was text messages between Rodimer and his wife, Sarah Rodimer, that provided the most damning evidence in this case. "I watched you nearly murder somebody, and I had to take your effing hands off of his neck as he laid there, and you ran away, and I spent the next 2 hours trying to take care of him. Nobody should have to watch their husband murder somebody." Sarah texted her husband following the altercation. Oh, wow. "I watched you murder somebody, like, let that sink in, you're psychopath," she then added in another text. Tapp served more than 20 years in prison in a 1996 killing before receiving an $11.7 million settlement from Idaho Falls in 2022 in a wrongful conviction lawsuit, bringing him national attention. Rodimer, who is originally from New Jersey, and Tapp reportedly knew each other through the classic car and racing circuit, a family attorney told 8 News Now. What an incredibly weird and interesting story. Weird. But thank you, by the way, to DB. I believe it was DB who sent in that story. So there you go. We'll move on here. We're going to a very odd story. This one as well, sent in by Tony, I believe. Campsite horror unfolds as an axe-wielding naked woman chases a man from the woods, according to police. It doesn't get any weirder than this, Mel. A campsite horror story unfolded in the swampy woods of southern Louisiana when a naked woman came out of nowhere and started chasing a man with an axe, this according to police. It happened in Slidell as the total solar eclipse was looming.
Oh, geez.
Again, another eclipse story.
Right.
And a suspect is in custody. "Let us set the scene." This is in quotes, according to Slidell police. "The woods, a campsite, a generous citizen, and a nude woman with an axe." Sounds like a perfect date to me, actually. Yeah.
Less the axe.
Less the axe. I don't need the axe, but we may need firewood, so you never know.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, let's keep the axe in there. According to the victim, he has been helping a homeless gentleman get back on his feet and make it back to Mississippi. While checking on the gentleman in a nearby patch of woods, he encountered an angry female who was completely nude and armed with an old rusty axe. The woman, who he'd never seen before, raised the axe above her head and began chasing him, the victim told police. Fearing for his safety, the victim ran out of the woods with the woman following closely behind him, still armed with the axe. The victim was able to outrun the woman and make it safely back to his vehicle. The woman was last seen walking down a public roadway, still bearing all of her glory. The identity of the victim, who escaped injury, has not been released, probably out of embarrassment, is my guess. As for the suspect, she slipped away unnoticed, despite being naked in public, according to police. It's a story that might raise eyebrows in some parts of the country, but Slidell is in voodoo country, about a 30-mile drive northeast from New Orleans, across Lake Pontchartrain. Slidell police say something similar happened before, and they had a suspect in mind when that happened. She was arrested on Tuesday, April 9th, completely clothed this time, and police found an axe, believe it or not. Charges included aggravated assault and obscenity, second offense, officials said. Yes, this isn't the first time this lady has been caught strutting around in her birthday suit, police went on to say. Narcotics use is suspected of being a factor in this egregious attempted attack on the victim. So there you go. Interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that happens often in Minnesota. It gets too cold 6 months out of the year to have, naked women running out of the woods with an axe.
They should have a sign, beware of angry beavers.
Ah, I see what you did there. See? This one, not as interesting, yet it is. We go to Pinellas County, Florida, where it's not drunken angry beavers running out of the woods. It's drunken women in Pinellas County who can't count their tires.
Okay.
This drunk woman was spotted driving on 3 tires, Mallie, by deputies. And when she was asked, how many tires are you holding up? She couldn't tell them. We go to Seminole, Florida, where a 49-year-old Seminole woman told deputies that she didn't realize she was driving around on 3 tires on Monday.
She didn't notice it was off balance.
No. Or that she heard right. As she was driving. Yeah. Officials arrested Anna Louise Keller after receiving multiple 911 calls reporting that she was driving a dark gray Nissan Rogue recklessly with no passenger side front tire. Oh, that'd be awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. According to authorities, deputies spotted Keller driving south on Hamlin Boulevard. The sheriff's office say deputies conducted a traffic stop to conduct a welfare check. When they spoke to Keller, they smelled alcohol. She admitted to drinking and told deputies that she was unaware that the tire was missing. Keller then was missing something else, a clean field sobriety test, and had unsteady bloodshot eyes, according to PCSO. Deputies say her breath alcohol concentration was a 0.160. So she was twice over the legal limit in Florida, which is 0.08 or 0.08. Mm-hmm. Deputies found 4 empty Busch Light beers in a bag on the passenger side of the SUV with a receipt showing a purchase date of the same day at 3:43 p.m. because, hey, if you're going to go driving, you might as well have a companion in the passenger seat, right. That being Mr. Busch Light. Mm-hmm. Right? Keller was arrested and charged with driving under the influence, according to law enforcement. So there you go. That's kind of a cute little story, don't you think, Mel?
Oh, yeah, cute. Until she whams into somebody.
That's right. Until she, yeah. Well, evidently she did. She only had 3 tires. So
yes, that's true.
This next story was sent in by Jim into Tim at darknessradio.com. Boulder police arrest 2 for vehicular theft after they asked officers for directions. Never pays to ask for directions, Mallie, after you've stolen a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are...
Why not use a little MapQuest thing on your phone?
Yeah, there's that. Well, they might not have had a phone. I'm not sure. But maybe buy a map. There you go.
True.
Stop at a
True.
gas
They probably
station.
don't know how to use them.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
We're going to teach the kids how to read a map because that's our concern. Is because when was the last time you actually read a physical map?
3 years ago.
Okay. It's been a while for me. I drove from Minnesota to Pennsylvania using a map. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't know how to read those anymore.
Although, doesn't the GPS have a map on it? Don't you follow the physical map on your GPS?
Well, yeah, but let's say your GPS isn't working because you're in the middle of nowhere.
True.
Or your phone is dead or something. You should learn how to use a map.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I would think. I mean, I do. Yeah. Boulder police arrested a man and a woman in a reportedly stolen vehicle on Sunday after the suspects asked officers for directions. Probably bad form. According to the Boulder Police Department's post on X, late Sunday night, officers saw video footage of a man and woman driving a stolen car into Boulder. police utilized the Flock Street camera to identify the vehicle. After following the suspects in an unmarked police car, the driver asked police for directions to deliver some food. Subsequently, the police discovered that the woman in the stolen vehicle had 2 prior vehicle theft convictions, as well as an active drug trafficking warrant out of New Mexico. When officers searched her, they found 0.29 grams of methamphetamines.
Oh, Lord.
A half a gram of M30 blue pills that contained fentanyl, and 3 stolen credit cards. According to the Post, the woman was then charged with unlawful possession of drugs and felony possession of a financial transaction device. The man in the car was also found with methamphetamines and charged with motor vehicle theft, drugs, and possession of drug paraphernalia. When the car was searched, officers found a fake BB gun that had been altered to look like a real gun, and a large knife next to the driver's seat of the vehicle, according to the Post. So they had drugs and they had bad intentions, Mal.
Yeah. But you said they were delivering food?
That was their excuse.
Oh.
Yeah. Both
I was like, oh my God, they work for DoorDash?
Yes. Yes. Except for it was Drug Dash, evidently.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Both individuals were later booked into the Boulder County Jail. So, yeah, I think food was just an excuse. They were obviously looking to get those drugs to somebody. That's for sure. That's for sure. Speaking of food, Mal, we do have one food story here before we get into our not safe for work category of dumb crimes, stupid criminals today. Here's our food story. Cops have a suspect that they busted in a pizza dough pelting.
Okay.
Here's the groaner of the headline. The victim, who was 62 years old, did not need hospitalization after the battery. Get it?
Jeez, yep, got it.
You need pizza dough?
Yeah.
See,
I like how you're using hand motions.
yeah, I'm kneading, and I'm doing it the correct Chuck E. Cheese way, the way you're supposed to knead your pizza dough with your thumbs. I got to put those skills to use somehow.
You used to work at Chuck E. Cheese?
I did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Haven't I told you that story many times on the show?
No. You must have told Dave it wasn't me or Jessica.
Oh, maybe I told both, and I haven't told you.
Yeah. No, I didn't know you used to work at Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh God, yes. Yeah. In fact, it was my first real job after delivering newspapers.
Okay.
Yeah, I started out in the dish room.
Uh-huh.
And then I dressed up as the old Chuckster and as Pasquale. And worked in the game room and out with the kids for many, many years. Actually, I think I worked there for 2.5 years in that capacity and took many a headbutt to the nuts.
I could see that.
Yeah. And it was all my buddy Jason's fault. He used to like to take me out he was a cook. And he used to like to take me. You have to have an escort when you go out in costume.
Uh-huh.
So he would take me out. He'd say, oh, no, I want to take you. I'd go, no. I would always tell him no. But he would get the job because he would jump to my defense and grab me by the arm. Because you normally get a server or a cook that takes you out onto the floor because you have to have an escort. And the reason being is the Chucky eyes were incredibly small. If you ever look at the Chuck E. Cheese costume, and there's no peripheral vision. So you have to have like an attendant with you so that kids don't run into you, because kids are a certain height, right? And they like to run and give Chucky hugs. Well, when they run, their little heads are perfect height with below the belt. We'll put it that way. So they like to dive in and they like to bury their heads when they give hugs. Well, when they bury their heads, they headbutt your genitalia, Mellie. So the idea is that the guide at the time would kind of scoop down in front of Chucky and go, oh, no, give nice hugs to Chucky, right? Mm-hmm. And they were to stop the running child from diving in and headbutting Chucky in the boys. Or the girls, because girls can take a painful headbutt too. Well, Jason would let him come in full steam. In fact, the further down the hall they would come, the better.
Yeah.
So what he would do is he would bring me out through the dish room, which was the furthest point down the hall from the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And what he would do would yell, "Hey kids, here's Chucky." And the kids would go, "Chucky!" And he'd hold my arm so I couldn't go anywhere. And the kids would come running down from the dining room or from out of the game room, and they go, "Chucky, Chucky, Chucky." And they'd bury their head and headbutt me in the nuts. And then I go, "Oh," and then I double over. And then he'd go, "Oh, kids, Chucky will be right back. He has to take a break." And then he'd drag me back to the staircase back in the dish room and let me sit on the back staircase and let me set out my headbutt. And that was the way he'd haze me every weekend, is let me take one headbutt to the nuts.
Nice.
Yeah. And then he'd go, "How'd that feel, buddy?" And then he was done with me. Then somebody else could take me around the room, the showroom. Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks, Jason. Yeah. So that's how we used to get each other at Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't know you worked there.
Yep, I dressed up as Chucky. Nearly died in the Anoka parade one year.
Oh, from heat stroke?
From heat
like
stroke.
Heat?
Yeah,
Oh.
It was 93 degrees, and that costume was wool.
Ugh.
And I sweat all the way through it. They had to take me back to Anoka High School and lay me out on a table.
Oh.
Nobody else, by the way, when you sweat through a wool costume, nobody else will put the costume back on, funny enough, to go out and march in the Chucky costume.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so there you go. Yeah. Good old days of pizza restaurants, huh?
Yeah. I feel like they were more fun back in our day.
They were. It was fun to work there. Mm-hmm. By the way, I also used to, Chucky had a long pink tail and it was curved and it curved upward. So I would take that tail that curved upward and I would try to not do this in front of my manager, but every once in a while, if there was a cute, keep in mind I was in high school at the time. So if there's a cute girl from my class that would come in, I would tuck that tail in between my legs.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Trying to impress her.
Gotcha.
Just saying. It was a very long tail. It was probably about 3 feet long. Just saying. But, there's lots of things you could do. Actually, we weren't allowed to take free game room tokens and play with the kids at different video games, but I managed to do that every once in a while as well. So I would give kids free video games.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd line them up with tokens. Like if they were at different machines. I can say all this now because it's been, oh dear God, it's been almost 35 years since I worked there.
Well, is it even open?
Yeah, it's still open.
Oh, it's still open?
It's the one in a certain northern suburb in Minneapolis.
Okay.
I can't say which one because people will figure it out. What I would do is we had a token machine that the game room attendants would go back and they'd fill their aprons full of game room tokens in case someone would lose a token, they could hand one out. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Chucky didn't have an apron on his costume, but I would go grab handfuls of tokens and I'd walk around with a fistful of tokens, and I'm kind of doing the dance right now of Chucky walking around, and I'd walk around and I would see a kid playing a game, like if they were really enthralled with a game like Miss Pac-Man or Galaga or whatever. And I would walk up, and Chucky's not supposed to talk, right?
Right.
So I'd walk up, and if the kid were playing it, I would walk up and I'd grab a couple of tokens and I would hand them to him, and I'd point at them and I'd point at the game. So you keep playing the game.
Okay.
So I'd hand him a couple of tokens to keep playing the game. And they go, "Thanks, Chucky." It was just my way of sticking my middle finger up to the man.
Did you guys have those animatronics?
Yes. Yeah. But some Chuck E. Cheese restaurants had, they had showbiz animatronics in them too. Ours didn't. It was just Chuck E. Cheese, but in the Chuck E. Cheese band.
Okay.
So yeah. I know. Like the ones in Illinois had showbiz animatronics in them as well. But ours didn't. Ours had always been a Chuck E. Cheese. It was built up as a Chuck E. Cheese from Jump Street. So.
We've got this place called Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum.
Yeah.
And it's got like every type of video game and mechanical game, you name it. It's so cool. It's a little overwhelming because it's gigantic and it's super cool. And I like going there once in a while. But they have showbiz animatronics there.
Oh, yeah.
Like all of them. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
When I was younger, my grandma used to take us to the Showbiz Pizza place over in Brooklyn Park or Brooklyn Center, wherever it was. And I actually like Showbiz's pizza. No offense, Chucky. I like their pizza and their animatronics better.
Okay.
So I kind of miss Showbiz.
Yeah, because those aren't around anymore.
No, they're not. But see, what happened is when Showbiz went out of business, Chuck E. Cheese bought Showbiz's animatronics.
Oh, okay.
They didn't buy their pizza their pizza. They didn't buy their pizza recipe or anything like that. But they did buy their animatronic characters, and then they incorporated them in some of the restaurants. So,
okay. Yeah, because I saw that they sell Chuck E. Cheese frozen pizza.
They do.
At Kroger's, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how it tastes, but I saw that not too long ago, actually.
I think they have it here locally in Minneapolis at Cub Foods.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. I actually had it one day.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was okay.
Not really.
Yeah. It's not the same as what you get in the restaurant.
Right.
But it's pizza.
Yeah.
much like when you go to Chuck E. Cheese, it's just pizza.
Gotcha.
The stuff we made back when I was in high school was pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it was good enough to, when you were hungry and wanted something to bring home, it was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss those Pizza Huts that you could eat inside, like the nostalgia.
Yeah. Have you had it lately?
Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
Yeah, not too long ago.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I usually get the pasta.
Yeah, their pasta's pretty good. It's not going to win any awards, but
No,
but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Sorry, we got off track.
No, that's okay. We're talking about pizza anyways. This story says, today in unique weapon news, Mal, a man is behind bars after allegedly striking his roommate in the head with a wad of pizza dough. I don't know too many people that make their own pizza at home.
I would if I had a cool, like, brick oven. I'd probably make it a lot more.
Very true, very true. Investigators say that 32-year-old Joseph Trezelt was making pizza Thursday evening when he got into a confrontation with 62-year-old Elvis Singleton in the St. Petersburg, Florida home that they share. That's kind of an odd arrangement. Yeah. While preparing the Italian delicacy, Trezelt told cops that Singleton started making sounds like coughing in a way that was to irritate him. Trezelt also reported hearing voices telling him how to make the pizza. That's an odd sentence. Perturbed, Trezelt threw a piece of dough on the floor and then threw it again at the victim, striking Singleton in the noggin as he was seated at the dining room table with his back to Trezelt. Police reported that there was no visible bruising to Singleton as a result of the dough strike.
Because it's dough.
Yeah,
it's super soft.
It's dough. It's not going to hurt you. Trezelt reportedly admitted to tossing the dough because Singleton was making coughing sounds that he did not like. He was arrested for misdemeanor battery and booked into the county jail, where he is locked up in lieu of how much bond, Mallie, for hitting somebody
You always
with pizza?
ask me this, and I'm always
I know, but this is
way off.
This is intriguing. You're hitting somebody with pizza dough. How much do you think you're being locked up for? How much bond?
5,000.
No, lower.
See, I never win at this. 1,000.
You're close.
1,500.
$1,150 for pizza dough.
I think they need to end their relationship of being roommates.
I think so, too. Trezelt was also charged with criminal mischief for allegedly breaking a piece of furniture in Singleton's room. I think that's what the majority of the bond is.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Not the pizza dough.
Right. A judge ordered Trezelt to have no contact with Singleton and barred him from returning to the pair's apartment. Last year, Trezelt was busted for allegedly walloping Singleton. That's right. According to an arrest report, Trisselt said Singleton's coughing noise caused him to punch him in the face. Oh, God. Prosecutors subsequently declined to pursue the battery case. I think the two of them, you're right, Mel, they just need to split up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to go their separate ways. By the way, here's a picture of the guy in question.
He looks like a freeloader.
He does, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a guy who's probably got a hair trigger. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hair trigger temper. That's for sure. All right, we're going to get into the not safe for work portion of our program. At this time, if you're listening around the kiddies, we need you to put in your earbuds or simply just walk away, kids, in order to do so. I know we were talking Chuck E. Cheese, but Chuck E. Cheese time is over. It's time now for you to put in your earbuds or turn down the volume on your listening device. Or if you're at work, it's time to get away from the boss or the other employees around you. You can do that now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Speaking of getting away from the boss, we're going to Tampa, Florida. Here, Mal, we're talking about a Tampa Fire Union president who, let's just say, didn't keep it professional when it was time to go wee.
Oh.
It turns out that he was arrested for urinating in public while he was drunk. Nicholas Stacco, I think it's Stacco, has been suspended from his city job after being arrested by St. Petersburg police last month. He asked officers, "Do you know who I am?"
Oh, boy, one of those.
Yeah, not the best thing to do. During his arrest last month, the union president for Tampa firefighters invoked his official position while appealing for officers to let him go after St. Petersburg police watched him relieve himself in a downtown parking garage. That, according to body cam footage obtained Monday by the Tampa Bay Times. "Do you know who I am?" Nick Stacco said to an officer in the early hours of March 24th. "Nope," replied the police officer.
One word. Nope.
Nope. Stacco did not elaborate, but about 20 seconds later, he added, "I would never do that to y'all." "But you just did, on the wall." Yeah. He soon added, "I work with you guys." Well, not directly. He's a fire inspector, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Or union.
Yeah, he's union. 33-year-old Stacco was taken to Pinellas County Jail in a police van. He was charged with 1 count of disorderly intoxication, which is a misdemeanor. He was clearly intoxicated at the time, according to a police incident report. Officers noted his slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and the smell of alcohol wafting from him as he staggered. 10 days later, on April 3rd, the charge against him was dropped, according to Pinellas County Circuit Court records. It's not clear what changed in the case that led to the dropped charge. Stacco was suspended April 5th from his position as a city fire inspector. Tampa Fire Rescue confirmed that to the Times, Tampa Bay Times. He continues to be president of Local 754, representing some 750 city firefighters. I believe the arrest was unwarranted and expressed that belief to the arresting officers, Stacco said in a written statement to the Times, adding that he reported the arrest to Tampa officials that Sunday, March 24th, and retained counsel to contest the charge. He was not in uniform on duty at the time of the arrest. "I have not been accorded any of my due process rights and apparently will not be permitted to return to work until I meet their special requirements being imposed," Stacco said in a statement. "I am convinced that the city's heavy-handed treatment is meant to punish me for my union advocacy." Stacco is a familiar face at Tampa's Old City Hall, often pushing elected officials for firehouse renovations and higher pay and expanded resources so the department can keep pace with the city's population growth. He continues to receive his annual fire inspection salary of, how much? I just want to ask this real quick, Mal. How much do you think a fire inspector's salary is in Tampa Bay?
I'll say 120.
Wow. You are on it today, my friend. $120,307.20. Evidently, you're up on your fire inspector salaries. That's exactly how much he makes. The length of the suspension is dependent on the investigation of the incident, the spokesperson wrote. He became union president at the start of last year, a role in which earns an additional estimated $40,000, according to the city. So he's got a lot of money in the game.
Mm-hmm.
For not
Sounds like his ego got in the way, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you remember when the Mall of America had the fourth floor bars?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know how many people peed in the parking ramps?
Oh,
after that?
It smelled like urine.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, those were the days.
Yeah. Stocko's arrest shares similarities to a much publicized 2022 incident involving then Tampa Police Chief Mary O'Connor. Like Stocko, O'Connor was a high-ranking Tampa official stopped by law enforcement in Pinellas County. Like Stocko, O'Connor asked an officer if he knew who she was. Evidently, that trick works. That appeal was also caught on body camera footage, the appeal of "Do you know who I am?" O'Connor told the officer she was the Tampa police chief and asked that he allow her to leave. The body camera footage was reviewed by the Times. Stocko did not mention his specific job, his fire union affiliation, or his role as its president. O'Connor, by the way, was not ticketed. After public outcry over her recorded appeal for preferential treatment, O'Connor was forced to resign. Video footage, by the way, of the arrest shows Stocko in a downtown parking garage. There, officers found him urinating on a wall in the early hours of March 24th. "How's it going?" a city officer asked, according to body camera footage obtained by the Times. "Good," replied Stocko, with his zipper still open and his belt unbuckled. Stocko, who became the president of Local 754 at the start of last year, says, "I'm sorry I did that," multiple times in the body camera footage. He was handcuffed and led outside to the street, which was still thronging with Saturday night revelers. "So you're going to put me in this machine?" Stocko said, and was escorted to a police van. He then suggested that he was important enough that the officers should reconsider. That's when he asked, "Do you know who I am?" And the officer said, "Nope." Interesting story nonetheless. I'm impressed, Mallie, that you knew $120,000 was the fire inspector's salary.
Well, I mean, I know some things. My husband's a firefighter, but
yeah, but still,
he needs to change positions though and become an inspector.
I guess, right? I guess somebody's been shopping what the raise in pay would be, huh? And somebody has that money spent already.
Yeah.
Just saying. Well, speaking of inappropriate behavior in public, I found a real-life Oscar the Grouch.
Okay.
It's this man right here. I'm going to show you a picture real quick.
Oh.
You're like, oh, yeah. That pretty much looks like the real-life Oscar the Grouch. A man was found drunk, naked, and sitting in a garbage can. That's pretty much Oscar the Grouch right there.
Is he a frat boy?
You know, you would think so, with that kind of behavior. The perp claimed he was allowed sidewalk display. I don't know what that means. He was allowed sidewalk display. Of course we're going to Florida, kids. Arguing that he was not subject to arrest, a Florida man told police he was allowed to be drunk and disorderly and sit naked in a trash can on the public sidewalk. So he was allowed to be Oscar the Grouch. St. Petersburg police alleged that 35-year-old, yes, he's 35, 35-year-old Wiley James Weeks was intoxicated, unsteady on his feet, and smelled of booze when they discovered him late Saturday evening on a downtown street. Weeks was extricated sans clothes from a corner trash can and arrested for disorderly intoxication and resisting an officer without violence, both of which are misdemeanors, by the way. In addition to claiming that he could not be punished for his take on Oscar the Grouch, Weeks said he did not have to provide officers with his name or demographics. That's a direct quote.
Okay.
"I don't have to provide you with my name or demographics." Weeks pleaded guilty to both counts and was fined $520. That's it. His rap sheet overflows with theft, disorderly conduct, panhandling, criminal mischief, and other misdemeanor convictions.
Oh, so he's well known to the police.
Oh, yes. This isn't his first time being naked and in a trash can, evidently. One of his prior busts came after weeks and a male friend were spotted drunk and naked on a Tampa street after they exited a bar. Evidently, he loves being drunk and naked.
Apparently.
That must be a new TV show on A&E. I have no idea. The duo told cops they thought it would be funny to strip off their clothes. Court and jail records alternately describe Weeks as a transient and a resident of Gulfport, which is a city bordering St. Petersburg. Mallie, I'm looking at this guy, and I don't think he's one that the ladies would like to see naked often.
I don't think so.
No.
At first glance, though, he looked like a really overweight Ryan Reynolds.
I was going to say.
Just at first glance.
Yeah, like either a really overweight Ryan Reynolds or a really overweight Ben Affleck with a 70s hairdo.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, like a cross. If the two had a baby, that would be him.
That's right, like a Ryan Affleck.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's got the weirdest Wolfman beard. Like it's patchy, like he hasn't grown off of his pubic hair beard yet. He's 35 going on 13.
Has his voice dropped yet?
Probably not. Mine hasn't either, but still, I don't hold that against him either. Speaking of holding something against you, this next story is really bad as far as not safe for work stories. Mallie, this Missouri man, he's all of 34 years old, has been arrested.
Okay.
For stealing luxury vibrators that are worth more than $1,500.
Oh, my.
First of all, the words luxury vibrators are something new in my vocabulary. Is there such a thing? I didn't know that. I'm learning something new every week I do the show. Let me just read the story before I get in any more trouble. A Missouri man is facing a felony theft charge for allegedly swiping 8 luxury vibrators. I'm doing the math here. 8 divided by 1,500 is how much?
I want to know. I thought they usually you can't even go to CVS and get like facial cream that costs under $20 that's not locked up. So how are you getting a luxury vibrator, let alone 8 of them? You'd think they keep those behind the glass case.
I'm about to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. This Missouri man is facing a felony theft charge for allegedly swiping 8 luxury vibrators from an adult toy store and then trying to fence them via Facebook Marketplace.
Idiot.
First of all, who goes to get their luxury vibrators on Facebook Marketplace?
That's just gross because that usually means it's been used.
Ew.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know, but...
It's not brand new spanking stuff that you're getting off of Marketplace.
Isn't it though? I've seen people getting, I haven't seen people getting new vibrators on Facebook Marketplace, but I've seen people get newer stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Like there have been people that have gone to like Lowe's or Home Depot and they get newer stuff and sell that brand new stuff from Lowe's on Facebook Marketplace. But generally it's a theft ring. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they'll get power tools and they'll sell it. Not that a vibrator is a power tool, but I'm just saying that they'll take and they'll sell power tools on Facebook Marketplace, but they're brand new. Mm. You know what I mean? You'd have to state said toy is brand new. Right. But who would buy a used one?
People are weird.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho, 34-year-old Christopher Michael Booth. Let me show you the guy who goes into a toy store. Doesn't he look like
a loser?
Yeah, he looks like an upstanding citizen, doesn't he?
Is that a phone number area code on his neck?
Does it look like it? Let me zoom in here. Does that?
Yeah, it kind of looks like, what is that, 314? Or a 3?
That's a 314. Good eye. Yeah, that's the area code of St. Louis. Yeah.
Idiot.
And he is, if you look closely, Mallie, do you know what jersey he's wearing there in the booking shot just from the collar?
No, I don't.
It's a St. Louis Cardinals jersey.
Oh, okay.
There you go. I'm here to help, Mel. I just am. I'm here to help. I think he fashions himself a gangsta.
Apparently.
Yeah. 34-year-old Christopher Michael Booth, no relation to the Christopher Booth who is a Booth brother.
Mm-hmm.
I have to separate those because we do have a paranormal audience out there.
Yes.
Yes. Was named in a felony complaint charging him with stealing the vibrators. Although I can't say that Christopher Booth, our Christopher Booth, hasn't stolen a vibrator. I'm just saying it.
You're going to see him at Michigan Paracon. He's going to give you a piece of his mind for starting an ugly rumor.
Or a piece of the business if he has stolen vibrators. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. He's going to text me, I'm sure. Anywho, sorry, it was just a good joke. I couldn't resist. So these stolen vibrators are valued at a combined $1,539.20, and he stole them from a Hustler Hollywood outlet in Berkeley, which is a St. Louis suburb.
Oh, so he doesn't even pay full price. Oh, wait, he doesn't even pay. He steals.
Well, he steals.
But I mean, if it's an outlet, it's...
Yeah, it's an outlet store.
So it's the year-old models that they're selling then.
It's a year-old luxury model. Yeah. So really, retail, these are probably... 2,500, 3,000?
Probably.
Yeah.
Better be made out of solid gold for that amount.
The purloined sex toys, which retail for about $200 a piece. Oh, no. So they are, okay. So, yeah. So wait a minute.
I thought they were individually like $1,500.
No. They're combined.
That's like, damn, diamond encrusted.
Oh, that would hurt. Oh. Diamond encrusted. What are you trying to get oil out of it? No, at $1,539 combined. So
okay.
$200 a piece.
Still, I mean that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. Are manufactured by Lilo, which is a Swedish company that advertises itself as one of the world's leading designer brands for intimate lifestyle products. Have you heard of the Lilo?
No, I have not.
Okay. I'm just wondering. I only heard of like Doc Johnson from watching the Vice TV show.
Uh-huh.
Never heard of the Lilo. Lelo.
Is that the one that T-Pain was on? Because didn't he go to like a sex shop? Was it T-Pain? What is this?
Oh, no, 2 Chainz.
2 Chainz.
Yes, that's the other one I've heard of. Because 2 Chainz has the world's... What is it called? It's the world's most expensivest is the name of it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember the brand name of that one, but yeah. And she brings out the kit. It's like a, sorry, I keep hitting my mic. It's the briefcase. But
yes, I think I remember. Yeah.
That one is worth $20,000. Yeah. That one better get up and make me coffee after I'm done. I'm just saying, because light
your cigarette.
Yeah. No, that one had a male and a female component. The male component had a fleshlight in it.
All right, we're done.
I'm just
we don't need to be talking about the details of these things.
I'm just saying that was a whole different company. But no, that one, like when they had a sound effect and a visual effect when he opened it. There was like a gold light that came out of it.
Oh, was it like, oh?
Yes, and it had the choir in the background and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Booth last month allegedly took the vibrators from a display, placed them in a white trash bag because, when you got $200 vibrators, you want to transport them as classy as possible.
Yeah, he's not like that one guy at the antique store that was shoving stuff under his kilt.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember that one?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, and after Booth placed them in the trash bag, he raced out of the store. So he's not guilty in the slightest.
Yeah, that's not drawing attention at all.
No. Employees told police they recognized the suspect because he had been in the store a day earlier and had argued with them before being asked to leave. So, don't attract any undue attention to yourself. The man, workers also recalled, had the number 314 prominently tattooed on his neck, as MALLIE had found out and had pointed out before we even read it. It says here 314, by the way, is the main St. Louis area code, which I pointed out before we even read it. Items consistent with those stolen from the store were later offered for sale on Facebook Marketplace under the defendant's Facebook profile.
This guy is not smart.
No, he's an idiot. Booth's rap sheet includes multiple theft convictions, as you could probably tell. So there you go. That's the final story of Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals today. So there it is. Wrapping up today's show, a reminder, folks, check out Mallie's website, paranormalgirl.com. Lots of good stuff on there. You've got merchandise, Paranormal Girl merchandise, and recipes, Mallie. We're coming into summer, right?
Yeah, I've got to figure out, I think I might make a mint julep for the Kentucky Derby. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of mint juleps, but Derek's never had one, so I thought maybe I would make them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Are you going to put a little twist on the mint julep?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You never know. I like to do things a little bit different, so who knows?
We'll look forward to it. We'll look forward to checking that out on paranormalgirl.com. Also, Science Channel, you got that strange evidence, don't you? That's right on there. Yeah. Folks, if you want to check that out, Science Channel is replaying it. You've got different Discovery's replaying it as well. Different Discovery Plus. Discovery Plus has it as well. Max has it on demand. Discovery Plus has it on demand. By all means, folks, you can see Mallie on different formats, whether it be cable, whether it be on demand. We have a link in the description of this program as to where you can check Mallie out on television. So
yeah. And I should say, check out the book Women in the Fringe.
Yes. Okay, I have news on that.
Okay.
I have news, Mallie.
Yes.
After you mentioned you were in a book, I said, You're in a book? You said, yes, I'm in a book.
Yeah.
I reached out to Marie D. Jones.
Okay.
And she's going to be on the program along with her co-authors in that book on May.
Excellent.
In May.
Yay.
Yes. So we managed to get all three authors of that book. They're going to be with us in the beginning of May.
Perfect.
Yes. So
all lovely ladies.
All lovely ladies. So we'll be talking about that book. What was it called again? Women
in the Fringe. Groundbreaking Women in the Paranormal.
There you go.
And I did a shout out to Darkness Radio.
Very nice. So there you go. So we'll be talking about Mallie and all those different women that are in the paranormal and that book coming up beginning of May. So
yay.
All because Mallie promoted it on the show.
It's just nice to see something different.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Women being recognized for what they do.
Absolutely. Last weekend, I lied to you. I told you I wasn't doing anything. I ended up covering for Todd up at KNSI.
I know. I saw that. And I was like, wait a second. I thought he wasn't working.
Yeah. Well, he had some...
Liar.
Todd had some car trouble. So I helped the brother out. This weekend, I'm up at KNSI. My normal shift. So there you go. So that's cool. What's going on. Tomorrow on the big show, Supernatural News with Jessica Freeberg. And then coming up on Wednesday, we have the kids from Small Town Monsters coming back on the program. Specifically, Aaron Deese will be back on the program. And we are talking Dogman.
Very cool.
Yeah. Big week this week.
Hey, when is your event again for the pause?
Potographs for Pooches?
Yeah.
Is May 18th.
Okay, that's coming up.
It's coming up at the Palmer House Hotel. Again, go to either darknessradioshow.com and the events tab. Check and see if there's still tickets left. It may be gone. There may not be tickets left.
That's a good thing, though.
That is a good thing. But check and see if there are tickets left. I believe there may be maybe one or two left. But check to see if there's still event tickets available for that. It's myself. It is Richard Estep. It is Tim Miley. Check to see that those are available. And you can also go to darknessradioshow.com, the event section, for tickets to Michigan Paracon. The other guy I got to reach out to this week is Brad Blair. He has a brand new paranormal justice book that I want to get on True Crime Tuesday. So
Mine just arrived today.
there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to hunt that brother down, trying to get him on True Crime Tuesday. So lots of big stuff.
Yep.
So there you go. So that'll do it today for True Crime Tuesday. From Mellie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Again, join us tomorrow for Darkness Radio. But thank you so much for joining us today for another edition of True Crime Tuesday.